Hi everyone, welcome back to Symposium. And yes, we usually speak in Italian, but today we are going to switch to English because we have a very special guest. I'm Andrea, and I'm here with Gabriele, CTO of Securenext. Securenext that we would thank for making this podcast possible. And we have a very special guest. So, ladies and gentlemen, James Kettle from Porttrigger. Hi, James. Thank you a lot for being here.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
Thank you so much. I guess this is your first time you present something in Italy and in an Italian SecConf.
Yes, that's right. I haven't been here for a long time.
I'm just curious to know how do you see the Italian cybersecurity scene from your perspective? Because sometimes we forgot as Italian that we are engineers, we are inventors, and something like that. And so I'm really curious to know how do you see us from your perspective?
It seems super strong from a British perspective. This year during my research, I ended up working with three full-time bounty hunters, and all I knew was their handle. I didn't even know their real name, but I believe one or maybe two of them are Italian, and I'm going to be seeing them tomorrow.
So, James, many of the people that will watch this episode will actually have read your latest research about HTTP1, as your T-shirt happily illustrates.
Yes, I imagine so.
So, how is it that, according to you, we are on the at the limit of HTTP3? We're talking about quick, we're talking about kernel implementations, and at the same time, we're still having so much struggle against HTTP 1.1.
It's a good question. There's basically, I think we've got a huge amount of variation in the industry because you've got giants like Google really pushing for things like HTTP3 and developing these protocols, and they have their own web browser too, right? And they don't even have to write the RFC. They just do something and someone else writes the RFC based on what they did afterwards. So they can move really fast. They can build this stuff and ship it and get everyone using it. But no one else is even paying attention or bothering to try to keep up because they don't see a need to. There's this whole concept of, well, things seem to be working fine, so why would I change them? There's this widespread misconception that HTTP1 is a simple protocol, which makes people think it's secure when it's not simple or secure in practice. So these factors basically mean that adoption of HTTP2, especially behind reverse proxies, is really, really poor. Like Nginx is a very popular web server, and I don't think it even supports upstream HTTP2 yet.
You can't work with an HTTP2 upstream, actually. Yeah. And they, up until relatively recently, they were actually arguing about whether it's even worth supporting HTTP2 at the upstream level. And the community was really confused and was like, what do you mean if it's worth it?
Yeah, exactly. There's really poor awareness of how dangerous HTTP1 is and how much more secure HTTP2 is, and that's kind of what I'm issuing a call to arms to the security industry to show the world just how dangerous HTTP1 really is.
Well, one small bit, it really struck me recently once I got into studying a bit your work. I personally, at least, have always regarded Apache 2 as the old ways, the ancient piece of technology. And then I see you saying, okay, I managed to attack everything besides Apache because they are two studios simply in certain aspects. And on the other side, Apache supports HTTP2 just fine.
Yeah, Apache is solid.
The young one, the modern one, doesn't actually support it.
Yeah, it's really interesting how these things play out that way. Apache has upstream H2 support. I think it's experimental still, but
possibly, yeah.
I think it more or less works. Hopefully we can get it stable soon because I think people are probably going to be a bit scared to turn it on when it's experimental. But yeah, their shipping. Apache is really good. Like I would say the CVs that I've got that I'm the most proud of are the ones in Apache.
The truly difficult one to find.
Yeah, like that was the only server where that I explicitly targeted where I couldn't find an early response gadget, which will make sense if you've seen the paper. And basically, the reason is the developers have this like really cautious attitude. So if there's ever anything slightly funny happening, they close the connection, which just kills the whole attack class dead. So it's a very effective strategy. Whereas I think something like Nginx and most other servers, they're like, well, we want to be as fast as possible, so we never close the connection.
Sure, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And do you think it's realistic to get rid of HTTP 1.1 in the near future? I mean, because in my experience, having when you have a load balancer, internet faces load balancer that do a proxy pass to an internal application, an internal API gateway or something like that, using HTTPS or rather TLS to do the proxy pass, you always see a higher CPU usage just for TLS, handshake, encryption, and etc.
Yeah, so you don't strictly need TLS to use HTTP2. In web browsers, they won't use HTTP2 without TLS, but a reverse proxy should support HTTP2 over clear text upstream. So it shouldn't cause those kinds of issues. It should be faster in practice. But I would say my research is very much a call to arms to I just want to get us to a point where we acknowledge upstream H1 is dangerous, and we say, did you know if you switch to H2, it will pretty much resolve this entire critical attack class.
Sure.
That's like what I'm trying to get us to now. I think we're a very long way from being at a point where it's like everyone's turned off HTTP1. I think that's like saying everyone's stopped using memory unsafe languages. Like, it's a nice goal, and any progress in that direction is valuable, but I don't see it as a destination that's just around the corner.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And I'll go a bit more back in time, but I knew, of course, I'll talk for myself. For example, I knew about your background in Portswigger, but I guess I had certain misconceptions about your role, what you did, what you used to do when you joined, what Portswigger was like before you, because there was actually a Portswigger before you. Like, would you mind spending a bit explaining how this whole adventure started?
Absolutely.
Happened.
So, Burp Suite was made by David Stuttard, who's the author of the web application Hacker's Handbook. And he started it a long time ago, long before I joined Portswigger, I think 2004 or something like that. I joined Portswigger as the 8th employee as a web security researcher in 2014. It was a while ago too.
Okay.
And I've been leading the research team there ever since.
Okay. So you actually joined relatively late. Like, the company used to exist for quite a bit of time before.
It is, but for a long time, it was basically just David. It was just his project.
Gotcha.
I think once he started hiring developers, I was there within about a year or so.
Okay.
Even before he started hiring, I remember seeing Burp Suite and being like, I bet this would be a fun company to work for.
Yeah. Gotcha.
That's cool. And I have seen a lot of your interviews, and basically anyone ask you what about AI that do stuff instead of the penetration tester or something like that. But I want to ask you what do you think about project like Xbow or Big Nap, something like that? That they manage to I don't know, do a penetration test autonomously, or spot 0-day in, I don't know, project like FFmpeg, something like that. Do you think it's likely it could happen that an agent could do a penetration test without a human
So,
interaction?
This is a great question, and one I've given a fair amount of thought to. Firstly, I'll say I have a lot of respect for Expo, and what they're doing is super, super cool. So I've always been really into automation. That's been like my focus the entire 11 years I've been researching at Portswigger. Scanners that can find vulnerabilities have existed for a long time, and that affects my perspective on AI. Basically, it's a new kind of automation, which is really cool. With regard to some of Expo's achievements, like you say it can do a pen test, and I'd say, well, it found a vulnerability in a website. Is that a pen test? Because Burp Scanner can find a vulnerability in a website, and yeah, they hit number one on HackerOne. Well, what if we kept Burp Scanner to ourselves and just scanned all the bug bounty websites with it, right? I mean, we would have to triage the results. So it's not exactly the same, but I think we would be number one on HackerOne if we'd done that instead of just selling the product so everyone else gets to run it instead of us.
That's
Right? So
thought about it. Yeah.
yeah, what I see is this coming marketing battle where you've got all these companies where hacker in the loop or like human in the loop is not available to them because they don't have a platform to integrate on. So they're trying to build like a point and click AI scanner, and they're going to tell you this is a pen test. They're going to market this as a pen test when what it is it's a scanner. It's a super cool scanner. Like, I love the tech. Like, we've just shipped Burp AI in Repeater now, which is a cool agentic thing. Like, this tech has serious potential, but I think at least where we're at the moment, if you want a pen test, you need the human in the loop. That's where I see that combination of human expert tester plus automation, and that's classic automation and AI automation. That's how you get the best results right now. And I'm actually doing some research related to this topic
Yeah.
that I'm looking forward to releasing in a little bit.
That's why maybe you have introduced the Burp AI as a like to help the penetration tester and not to replace the human in the analysis.
Right, we see this has always been our strategy with automation. This is one of the reasons that I've stayed at Portswigger, because if you're just building a black box point and click enterprise scanner, you can't write code that says, oh, I found something interesting here, you should investigate, because that's pretty useless if it's not in the hands of an expert. But in Burp Suite, you can do stuff like what I do in /powered scanner, where I say, look, this double backslash got converted into a single backslash when it was reflected, which means maybe there's some kind of eval. And like, that's a super easy thing to make. It can find loads of different issues, but the reason that it works is because of the human in the loop.
So what was the like establishing this? In your opinion, what was the big win of? Was actually introducing Burp AI a big win, or was it more like, as you explained up until now, mostly about automation, small optimizations, maybe a better accessibility for the tester at the beginning, stuff like that?
So it's very powerful tech. I would say Burp AI, like what we've shipped right now, it's the start of something very big, and it's going to get bigger. It's going to make things much, like it will mean you can go deeper on targets faster, you can spend less time doing boring stuff. Like, it's super exciting what we can achieve with it. We're looking at making it more interactive, like more human in the loop. And at the moment, it's agentic, and you give it the kind of the starting instructions, and it kind of shoots off in that direction. And we'd love to get a point where you can see what it's doing, so you can look at it and go, well, it tried something that failed, but actually that gave me an idea for how I can take things further, because I can see actually it hit this filter and I know how to bypass that filter. So it's already getting a lot of value from the human AI combo, but there's a lot more to it that we're gonna unlock there as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for new updates on.
Yeah, it's not finished.
Gotcha. And like, as you said, you're the director of research in Portswigger. Like, what's it like working in your team? Because the way I see it, you're like you invented the Excel of the offensive security in a certain sense, as we jokingly said earlier. Like, is it more like, okay, we're maintaining a piece of the internet's critical infrastructure, we cannot afford any small mistake, or is it much more research oriented? How is it?
It is really fun. It's good fun. I would say it's more research oriented than that. We are on the research team. We aren't writing code that lands in Burp Suite. We've got professional developers that take care of that, but we do provide a lot of input because we're all heavy Burp Suite users. So we can be like providing the guidance to make sure the features that we're building are what customers want, and that they land in the right way and that they're suitably polished, and so on. At times, we're really privileged to have so many users, such a big user base, and they all use the product in different ways, some of which we would never have ever predicted, which is super cool. It's really empowering. It does make life tricky sometimes, like when we want to, like I remember once we moved a button, slightly, and it caused a lot of upset, and someone articulated it like, they said, it's like someone crept into my house in the middle of the night and moved my car keys. So it's a responsibility. Having a tool that has this many users, you have to be quite careful and deliberate, when sometimes as researchers, we just want to, we want to change everything and challenge everything. There's a kind of a balance there, but then we also make a lot of Burp Suite extensions, which we have full autonomy over. So you might notice with Turbo Intruder, which is one of mine, sometimes I'll make quite major changes to it, just to get a feeling for what works and what doesn't work.
Speaking about research, is the 100% of your time for research, or you do other things during your daily work?
I would say I definitely spend the majority of my time doing like classic proper research. I spend some time doing things like looking at customer feature requests and thinking about like what problems they're coming from and how to solve them. That kind of stuff, like providing input to Burp Suite Pro and Burp Suite Scanner and so on, to make it as good as it can be. And sometimes that ties in really nicely with the research. Like a few years ago, during my race condition research, I invented the single packet attack, which this does some super cool, super low level stuff with HTTP2. That makes it amazing for triggering race conditions, and I was able to get the developers to put that into Burp Suite, and it's like you press one button and it does this super cool thing, and you don't even need to understand how that works or what happens when you push that button. It's just there, you press the button and it finds race conditions. Sometimes things come together so well,
and it works pretty well. I tested it against, I don't know if it's true, but a lot of e-commerce cart have
everything has race conditions. It does.
I don't know, but how do you choose the the target of your research? I mean, I think that it could happen that you spend a lot of time in a span without finding literally nothing. And how do you decide to how can I say,
To pivot to something else.
to give up and
So-
try something else?
Knowing when to stop, when to bail on a piece of research, I regard that as possibly the most difficult question in research. That's the hardest thing. People think the hardest thing is picking a topic. Picking a topic's not that hard. There's like millions of potential topics, and they're generally all good in one way or another. What I do is I have a bias towards topics where I can rapidly, like with a time investment of maybe 1 week, evaluate whether this is going to work out or not. That's what I'm looking for. So before I start like wasting ages writing loads of code or something like that, or doing loads of manual testing with a concept, I'll make a plan and be like, what's the evidence that I need to know that I'm going in the right direction? So yeah, and it depends based on what it is. But for example, let's say I come up with a novel desync technique, I'll run it on my pipeline of 30,000 websites. That only takes like 10 minutes. And now if that works on 0 websites out of the 30,000, that's a fail. But if it works on 1, that is a massive success, and I'm going to spend at least another week
Okay.
exploring that, right? It's just that tiny bit of signal that there could be something here.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because when that one works, you know, if you tweak a few things and you try a few variants, you'll probably find 500 more. Right?
Mm.
And like, besides research, which of course you do a lot, you also do quite a fair amount of bug hunting, at least on specific researches, right?
Yeah, I guess that's part of the research. I've got a novel technique, but I need to put I guess my goal with a piece of research is to give a presentation at Black Hat USA on it, and it's great to have a nice sounding concept, but what I want to do is prove that it works. Ideally, I want to do that by making loads of money in bug bounties, because whenever you publish any piece of research, someone will tell you, I've known about that for the last 10 years.
Sure.
And
Gotcha.
I mean, it's probably true or it's not true, whatever. But if you can say, well, then how come I made $300,000 with this technique and you didn't? That just feels nice.
Yeah, I can understand that. But like, is there? Actually, I need to get way closer. Is there anything you, especially with your latest research, you've done quite a fair amount of specific bug bounty on this specific class of vulnerabilities? Is there anything about the bug hunting world that, in principle, you really don't like, you would like to change? Because
Good question.
because like many people talk about bug hunting and similar. Some complain, some praise it, but I haven't seen many people actually trying to look at the problems that bug hunting exposes.
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a couple of things there. One thing is that private programs I think they're pushed heavily by programs, by bug bounty platforms as a way to kind of onboard into bug bounty. And I think from that perspective, it makes complete sense. But it has this kind of side effect of preventing people from being able to disclose their findings, which is a real shame, because there's loads of amazing findings out there. The bug bounty community, everyone that's actively hacking and trying hard is doing tiny pieces of research all the time. But when they're not allowed to disclose things,
Sure, it stays
It's
just
a
in
barrier. It means this stuff stays in like one person's head and it doesn't get shared and built on by other people. So I think it holds the overall security of the community back when you've got loads of private programs which don't allow disclosure of issues.
But on the other hand, like working, first of all, not many companies have the significant and complex structure necessary to set up a functioning bug hunting program by themselves, and like it's even difficult to navigate because different companies do different things in different ways.
Yeah, definitely. I think bug bounty platforms provide a huge amount of value. Absolutely.
Okay.
It's just there's one thing about private programs that's not ideal. But the thing is, like, there's benefits to it. That's why they promote it. Because it means you can avoid your program getting flooded when you first open it if your security maturity isn't quite where it should be for a public program, and so on. So
Okay.
it exists for a reason, but as a researcher, I can see it has some downsides.
Okay.
James, how did you start your passion for hacking web application or website? Is it something that started before I guess your professional activities?
Yeah, pretty much. So it's quite a funny story actually. So back when I was at university, I used to play quite a lot of a multiplayer online game, a Polish game called Soldat, and right, and so this isn't going where you think though. So it was like Counter-Strike but 2D, let's say, right? And there was some. So I take things I can get quite competitive. Okay. Other important fact. So someone is selling cheats for this game, right? I still remember his handle, but I'm not gonna dox anyone by accident or anything like that. But he sells cheats for this game, and people use the cheat. It makes me upset. And he sells his cheats from a website, and I'm like, if only I could hack this website, I could replace the cheat with like a little bat file that I made, that did something different.
Wow.
So I like started Googling how to hack and watching like YouTube videos on cross-site scripting and trying to learn about it from Wikipedia, and so on. And eventually learnt some useful web hacking skills. I actually got cold feet when I thought about what possible unintentional side effects there might be of just replacing a cheat with some actual malware. But around that time, Google launched their bug bounty program and said, if you hack us, we'll pay you. And I found an XSS in YouTube just by pasting script alert 1 into lots of boxes. Wow. And that got me started. So I got into hacking via bug bounty hunting in like 2010 or something like that. And I think that thing of like, basically the only bounty programs then were like Google and Mozilla. So I started out looking at hardened targets, and it kind of pushed me into research because you basically had to do research to actually find bugs successfully there. So I think that's why I've always loved trying to find bugs in sites that other people can't hack.
Nice. And speaking of research in Mozilla or browser research, Gareth Ice is another great researcher that do a lot of stuff in that way. And how is it your collaboration with?
He's amazing. I'm super privileged to work with him. So I'd always like followed him online, read his blog posts and so on. And then
We didn't know each other before.
we didn't know each other.
Oh wow.
But I followed him.
Yeah.
And then after I joined Portswigger back in 2014, David the director happened to mention that Gareth actually lives relatively nearby. Just happens to live near the office, and was like, we should hire him. And I was like, yes, we should definitely hire him.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It always make a lot of love because I have the JavaScript for Hacker
Oh, nice.
book,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I always laugh a lot because there are a couple of pages inside the book with the JS fuck something like syntax.
Yeah, yeah.
And I always think now I'm sitting a train with those 2 pages open, and I want to see the people passing by, and me like this. Oh, parentheses. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Sure.
Read a content advisory on the book. I'll let them know.
It's really great book, by the way.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you another specific, way more specific thing about your research. There is in my opinion, beautiful passage of your latest article where you essentially write, HTTP1 is not fit for a world in which we solve every problem with an additional layer.
Yeah.
And in the specific context that you put this sentence into, you're specifically talking about caching layers in that strict bus.
Yeah, yeah.
Are there other layers that you're not naming directly there that create other kind of issues besides, as we of course explored and as you explored in great detail in your article, aside from the reverse proxy itself, which presents the vast majority of issues?
I think so. It's hard to give specific examples, but it's definitely a reoccurring pattern of you have something like HTTP1, which is simple, and there's this implicit expectation that there's a client and there's a server, and that's all there is to it. And you just put layers and layers and layers in between it, and suddenly everything's obscenely complex and has crazy interactions.
And you never address the real core issues, actually, you never sort them out, and so layers can break, essentially.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's like, my perspective on it is, it's like a protocol like HTTP1 is the foundation of a system. And it's like you can build a foundation of a building, and it doesn't have to be a very strong foundation if you're just going to put a shack on top of it, right? But what we do is anything that can be used as a foundation, we try to build a skyscraper on top of it, and we keep getting higher and higher until the whole thing collapses.
Okay. But like right now we are at a weird point in history, in my opinion, because we like HTTP3. Many people are talking about HTTP3 quick and this whole stuff. And as we said earlier, browser companies arrived even before OS operating system vendors themselves. And so right now we are in these weird situations in which part of the internet is operating this way, while you have firewalls not really understanding the protocol. Like, aren't we risking the exact same situation all over again? Because as I understood it from your article, many of the long-standing issues that we have with H1, partly lay on the fact that the protocol is not binary, and so of course there's some shenanigans that can play a part.
Yeah.
But a huge part of this is also the fact that you take 3 different parsers and they do three slightly different things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, aren't we creating these exact same scenarios with the new protocol, with added complexities and stuff that we haven't bothered to optimize for the past 30 years?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think basically, so first I would caveat this. I haven't looked at Quick in depth yet. Like, I haven't done a proper year-long research on that protocol. But it looks like what we're basically doing, there is we're admitting that building this protocol, building these features that we want on top of TCP and trying to bolt things on is not the right way to go. And we're peeling back the foundation and we're building a stronger foundation, hopefully using lessons learned. So although it is obnoxiously complex. I can see that from what I have seen. I think, so there will be implementation bugs, but if we apply the lessons learned correctly when designing that protocol, I think it should be I'm confident it will be a lot more secure than HTTP 1, but that's not saying very much.
Okay, so you're seeing under a way more positive light, where essentially you think that we're kind of unwinding this whole stack of layers and trying to get back to some sort of basics.
Exactly, we're escaping the tech debt. Someone else asked me, like, why do we need HTTP 2? Like, can't we just make HTTP 1.2? Right?
Okay.
To fix these issues. And it's like, the issues are so baked into HTTP 1. That's why we needed a HTTP/2, which is binary. Like, it's just a different protocol, right? It's just a different protocol.
Yeah.
That was the right way to tackle that problem, because trying to bolt on fixes was just not going to work.
You couldn't bet on the different parsers doing the actual same thing for a specific
No. Whereas, like, for example, with H2, it's just like, look at bytes 7 to 12, and that tells you the length of the message.
Yeah,
like, there is no ambiguity there.
Yeah, whereas your research actually, like, it legit left certain passages because some situations you encountered that were pretty bonkers. Like, you sent a head request and the server completely forgot that it wasn't supposed to send you back a body.
Yeah, if you try to implement a HTTP 1 proxy with like full support for all the features, it's insane. You end up with loads of kind of state and logic in these areas where you would have thought they didn't even need state.
Gotcha.
So suddenly, it's just like the number of moving parts and things that can go wrong is massive. And then, thanks to the pull request isolation, whenever something does go wrong, it's a critical bug.
Gotcha.
And is there something in your work that you think you are not good at? I mean, you do a lot of research and developer things, but is there something that you delegate or you say, no, that's not for me?
Well, so basically, because I work with Gareth Hayes, if someone gives me anything client side,
Okay.
I get Gareth to do it. But that, because he's so good, you'd be crazy not to get him on that task. More broadly, yeah, I would say I'm a specialist, and I'm a black box specialist. So if you get me to do a code review, I mean, I love using code to find bugs, but like an actual code review, yeah, I'm sure I've got a lot of room to improve there.
Yeah, I think we explored kind of anything, kind of everything that we wanted to mess around with.
Cool.
Thank you so much, James.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
It was really like a honor to have you here and to get to exhibit our broken English with you first.
Thanks. It's been great chatting with you guys.